In this tutorial, I will be walking you through a fun arm balancing transition, which is floating into Eka Pada Bakasana, otherwise known as flying crow pose. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button of this page to help support this page. That would be so appreciative. Thank you so much. Make sure that your body is nice and warmed up, especially your hip flexors, your wrist flexors, and your shoulders. These fun arm balances transitions are about technique rather than strength. And the technique of being able to get your shoulders into protraction, think cat pose, separating the shoulder blades from one another, as well as pushing, resisting the ground away because you are resisting gravity from pulling you forward, are key elements into any kind of arm balance transitions. Stabilized shoulders and wrist flexors are your foundation to all of these fun and dynamic arm balances. Of course, they are not required in a yoga asana practice, but in case you are looking for that extra thrill of adventure and a fun way to play, because I think that a lot of us are taught to be so serious in our life that we sometimes forget to have fun and play for ourselves. And this is a really fun transition for getting in that playtime and just getting in that feeling of flight, if you know what I mean. So from downward facing dog, we're first going to just start by getting our body into Eka Pada Bakasana. So however you choose to enter the asana is totally your choice. But I'm going to enter it from a downward facing dog, reaching my right leg up towards the sky, then landing my right leg closer to my right elbow and lifting the left leg up. So when we jump into this position, you want to keep the top leg driving up as the bottom leg drives in towards your glutes. This is really important because the driving of that top leg is going to keep your hips up. And we want to land the hips in a position that is stacked over the shoulders, over the wrists. So if you want to, you could start this from a short and downward facing dog. Now, one thing to be said about downward facing dog is you want to keep your legs bent whenever you are going into different dynamic transitions, because keeping the legs bent is going to fire up your hamstrings. Because if you keep your heels down, sure, it's a nice stretch for the back of the legs, but are you really getting any power? So you want to keep your legs bent and maintain this active compression between the thighs and the midsection, which is so key for not only arm balances, but also for your handstand practice. Everything you're working on here is going to spill over to different areas of your practice. So I'm going to demo this first. I'm going to lift my heels, bend the legs. At the bottom of my exhale, I'm going to float, but I'm going to shift and bend my arms sooner than expected. So from here, lift the heels, bend the legs, bottom of the exhale, kick the left leg up, push the ground away, land the right knee towards the right elbow, keep looking forward, keep driving up through the legs. And then release. Sometimes a lot of us get discouraged from transitioning from hopping into arm balances because of the timing of that gaze shift forward. If your gaze is directly down to the mat, then we're always going to fall flat on our face. So it's really important to be able to shift the gaze and at the same time bend the elbows, pushing the ground away with our shoulders as we lean the chest forward. And that could be a little scary, the sensation of leaning the chest forward, but that's why it's so important to keep your gaze forward past the top of the mat. This is going to ensure that your body is following the direction of your eyes, of your drishti. So we're going to come into this together, but feel free to jump into Eka Pada Bakasana from a shortened downward facing dog position, or you can find downward facing dog. And if you pay attention, this left leg, as soon as I jump, immediately shoots up towards the sky. While this right leg, the bottom leg, kicks towards my glutes. So we'll take this together. Inhale to lift the heels, bend the legs, bottom of the exhale, hop, push the ground away, keep your gaze looking forward, keep kicking the legs up towards the sky, land your right knee towards your right elbow, and then come out of it. This transition takes a lot of repetition. It takes quality practice to get the timing right. And like all of these different transitions, it just takes patience. And it helps to film yourself with your cell phone and see what areas that you can work on. Compression is so important, and below in the description box, you will find my drills for active compression. And it's always really important to take care of your wrists. Daily self-care of the wrists are so important because our wrists have a lot going on in it. There's a lot of joints in there. And it's really important to just, if you have something like a ball or a foam roller, just to release the wrist flexors and the extensors out, because the wrists are very, very, very delicate joints, and you want to take care of it and not push your body beyond the limits. Always practice the level of ahimsa, nonviolence, with yourself especially. I hope this tutorial has helped you. Remember to get the timing of shifting your gaze forward and bending the elbows, because it's a lot sooner than you think. And once you feel comfortable with that shortened stance, go ahead and experiment with yourself by walking your downward facing dog into a longer stance as well. I hope that this tutorial has helped you. Please share your experience below, or if you have any more questions, please drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for being a